Right now, in your garage, there's a cooler, and it's got salt stains on the handle from like 4 summers ago. The lid doesn't close right anymore. And if your spouse ever tried to throw it out, you'd look at them like they just suggested selling the dog. Yeah, you know which cooler. Name's Frank. I went down this rabbit hole of why Gen X loves the outdoors so much. And the thing I keep noticing is that you don't just go camping. You go back to camping again and again. Like something out there is calling you and you can't explain it, but you also can't ignore it. And I figured out why. It starts with something that happened to you when you were about 10 years old, and you probably haven't thought about it in decades. So picture this. It's 1985, maybe 87, summer. You're 10, 11 years old. It's a Tuesday morning, and your mom, or whoever was in charge, if anyone was, opens the back door and just goes, "Go outside." That's it. That was the whole instruction. No plan, no destination, no helmet. And you went. You got on your bike and you just rode. Somebody on X actually asked this question a while back. Did kids in the 80s really roam around freely like the movie show? Or is that made up? Over 40,000 people responded. And the answer was basically yes, and then some. One person wrote, and this is a real comment: "We are the generation who raised ourselves." There really was a commercial that came on each night asking parents if they knew where their children were. We survived off hose water and anything we perceived as food. Hose water. You drank from a garden hose on a hot day, and it was the best thing you ever tasted. Better than any bottled water you've had since. And you know it. And someone else said, we were not allowed in the house during the day. We had bikes and friends. There were 3 rules. Don't get hurt, don't be brought home by the police, and see that light? See that light, meaning the street light. When the street light came on, you went home. That was the system. No phone calls, no texts, no GPS. Your mom's tracking device was the sun. Now, why does any of this matter for camping? Because without knowing it, all of that, the riding around, the building stuff out of sticks, the getting lost, the drinking from hoses, the figuring things out with zero adult help, all of that was training. Your body was learning to be comfortable outside, away from walls, away from roofs, away from screens, because screens barely existed yet. Every Gen Xer who camps today was basically put through an outdoor survival course from ages 6 to 16. Nobody called it that, obviously. They called it summer. That kid who built a fort out of sticks, that kid grew up, bought a tent, then a camper, then an RV. And then, on top of all that outdoor training you didn't know you were getting, your family went on trips. And listen, these were not the kind of trips people take now. Nobody checked Yelp, nobody read reviews. Your dad had a road atlas. Maybe. And if he didn't have a road atlas, he had something worse: confidence. And your mom? Your mom packed a cooler the size of a coffin, filled it with sandwiches and plastic baggies, and that cooler rode between you and your sibling in the back seat. The cooler was the border wall. Whoever crossed to the other side got a dead arm. No seatbelt laws worth talking about. No built-in DVD players. No iPads. Your in-car entertainment was the window. And if you were lucky, a Mad Libs book until someone got carsick. And eventually, you'd pull off onto a dirt road, find a campground with a payphone near the bathrooms and a hand pump water spigot. And your dad would start wrestling a tent pole like it owed him money. And your mom watched from a lawn chair with a book because she packed the car, made the food, handled the kids for 300 miles, and this was his job now. And that trip, messy, unplanned, I think we passed that gas station already. That's the trip you're still chasing. And that's not just a feeling. The 1980s have emerged as the decade most campers want to revisit. And 70% say they'd give up modern technology for a whole week to experience life the way it was back then. 70% of people would hand over their phone for a week just to go back to the way things felt. And you're Gen X. You don't need to go back. You were there. Okay, so the origin story makes sense. You grew up outside, your family dragged you camping before you could spell camping, but that still doesn't explain the feeling. You know the one. You pull into a campsite after driving all day. You get out of the car, and something in your chest just lets go. Like you've been clenching your jaw for 6 months, and you didn't notice until it stopped. There's actual science behind that, and it's simple. Your body makes this stuff called cortisol. Think of cortisol like a car alarm that goes off inside your body when you're stressed. Your boss emails you at 9 p.m., alarm. Your phone buzzes 14 times before breakfast, alarm. You check the news, alarm, alarm, alarm. And when that alarm stays on for weeks, months, years, you end up tired and wired at the same time. You can't relax, but you also can't think straight. Sound about right? Now, your body also makes serotonin, which is basically the everything's gonna be okay chemical, and dopamine, the that felt good, do it again chemical. You get dopamine when you finish something satisfying. Build a fire from nothing, cook a meal outside, back an RV into a campsite on the first try. Which, and you know this, almost never happens. But when it does, you don't talk about it. You don't need to. Everyone at the campground saw it. They know. When you go camping, nature turns the cortisol alarm down and turns the serotonin and dopamine up. 94% of campers see camping as stress relief from today's pressures. 94%. The other 6% had a raccoon incident they're still processing. But here's the part that really got me. There's a study, a real one, published in a psychology journal, that found people who spent just 4 days in nature without their phone scored 50% better on creative thinking tests. 50%. 4 days without your phone and your brain gets sharper. Like your brain's been waiting for you to put the phone down so it could finally do its actual job. And think about your daily life for a second. Every time you check your phone, you get a tiny hit of dopamine. But it's the junk food version. It's quick, it's empty, and 5 seconds later, you're scrolling again looking for another one. You're basically putting a quarter in a slot machine all day long. Camping unplugs the slot machine. You chop wood, and your brain goes, good. You start a fire from scratch. Good. You cook something outside that somehow tastes better than anything you'd make in your kitchen, even though it's the exact same hot dog. Good. Your brain rewards you for doing something real, with your hands, in the dirt, under the sky. And that reward, that's the real stuff. That's the stuff you can't get from a screen. And then, your generation did something very Gen X. You looked at camping, you looked at your truck, and you said, what if I just bring the house? One person online said it perfectly. Generation X are the people buying your products. You might try marketing to them, since no one else does. And that's a valid complaint. You're the backbone of an entire industry, and nobody's even talking about you. Which, honestly, you're used to by now. And your RV, or your camper, your trailer, your pop-up, whatever you've got, it says something about you. It's not a tiny house with fairy lights and a reclaimed wood wall. It's got real storage. Fishing rods that slide into a compartment, a cast iron skillet that weighs as much as a toddler, and you'll never ever get rid of it because your mom had the same one. Somewhere inside, there's a TV, and you never turn it on. That defeats the purpose. You have the option and choose not to use it. And here's what I love about how you camp compared to younger generations. 97% of campers carry their phones on trips, and 27% of millennial campers feel they need to share the experience on social media. 27% of millennials are out there trying to get the campfire at the right angle for Instagram. Meanwhile, you're in your camp chair, drink in hand, watching the fire with zero desire to photograph it. Because the fire isn't content. The fire is just fire. And that's enough. That right there, that's the difference. And here's the part that really got me when I was going through all this data. You're not just camping for you anymore. More than half of campers, 56%, are interested in multi-generational campouts as a way to bring the family together. You're dragging your kids out there, and your kids are fighting you on it. There's no Wi-Fi. Yep. What am I supposed to do? There's a creek over there and a stick right here. Figure it out. But you know from your own life that in about 2 hours, that kid's going to be knee-deep in that creek, shoes soaked, holding up a crayfish like they just won the Super Bowl. And they won't mention the phone for the rest of the day. Because that's what happened to you. Nobody explained it, nobody sold you on it, you just were there. And the woods did the rest. It's not about living in the past, but revisiting moments of it that bring up good feelings. Nostalgia helps us connect to who we really are and figure out what actually matters to us. And you know what a camp spot executive said about this? Campers today aren't just looking for a break. They're looking for a meaningful way to reconnect with their roots and relive the best moments of their childhood. That's you. Every time you load the cooler and check the tire pressure and hitch up the trailer and pull out of the driveway. You're not going on vacation. You're going back to the place where everything made sense. And the numbers say this is only getting bigger. 88% of campers want to break free from how complicated life is right now. And 72% say that longing for a simpler time is going to shape where they travel in 2025. 88%. That's almost everyone. And you've been doing this for years. Before there was a trend. Before anyone named it the recreation vacation. Before it had a hashtag. You were off-grid before off-grid was a thing. So what is this, really? You grew up outside before anyone had to tell you to go outside. You got used to quiet before you ever had to fight to find it. And now, in a world that is louder and faster and more connected than anything you could have imagined when you were 12 years old, sitting in a camp chair that was too big for you, watching sparks float up into a sky full of stars, you go back. Not because something's wrong, because you remember where the good stuff is. Same trees, same sky, same fire. Oh, one more thing. That cooler in your garage, the one with the salt stains and the busted lid, they do sell new ones, you know. You don't care. Yeah, didn't think so. If you liked this video, consider hitting the like and subscribe button below, and check out this video next. I think you'll find it interesting. See you there.